Hi. I know that I said that there would be discourse, and now here I am adding to the discourse. Um, this is not about Will Smith, and yet it is. Um, this is about anger and people pleasing. And I'm going to start this off by first giving you a little disclaimer. First and foremost, this is about the only visual you're going to get, so feel free to just listen to this video. Second, my heat might come on and off. I'm not editing this. I'm sorry. Third, um, while I am adding to this discourse, I think I'm going to talk about something I have not seen anyone talk about yet, and even if they do, it just won't have my flair. So if you enjoy my flair, here we go. Okay, so let's start off with a story. I'm 14. I'm going through one of the worst times in my life. And I'm at school in a study hall with a friend of mine who also knows I'm going through this time. And there's this annoying kid. I honestly don't remember his name anymore. Let's call him Max, because I don't know anybody in my life named Max. So, so Max is a bit of a terror. Got suspended, I believe, the second day he came back to 8th grade. So he's just that kid. And in this case, he decides to pick on not me, but my friend, who is pretty shy and reserved and doesn't want to cause no trouble. So that day, he steals her book bag and goes running down the hall. We're in this like hall area. It's hard to describe. Just know we're adult supervised, but in this hallway area. The adult is off in his little office at this point. And Max goes down running down the hall with my friend's bag. And I'm having a really bad day. So I run after Max without really thinking about it. And as someone who plans every waking moment of my life, it's rare for me to just do things without thinking about it. But this was one of those cases. And so I run him down and I grab the bag, and now we're in a tug of war. And he's bravado, 8th grade boy. If you don't let this go, by the time I count to 10, I'm going to have to hit you. And like I said, I was having a bad day. So I said 5, 6, because I just wanted to hurry this up, Uh, the way I remember it is that he did, in fact, hit my arm by the time we got to 10. And then I slapped him and got the bag back. I have been told I punched him. All I know is that while I was in the vice principal's office, terrified, I was sitting there for about 5 minutes, terrified, because I don't get in trouble. I never had a detention before. Vice principal comes out, looks at me, asks to verify that he's talking to Jasmine. I say, yes, my name is Jasmine. And he says, this is about Max? And I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. And that was it. So, let's fast forward. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one fun thing. Years later, now I'm 19, I'm in therapy for the first time, and my therapist mentions that I have clinical depression. He called it unipolar, actually, which I thought was interesting. I've never heard anybody call it ever since, but, if bipolar is 2 poles, unipolar would be 1. But he points out that this probably started when I was 14, that specific week that I raced down that kid. The details of what was going on in my life at 14 are not for y'all to know, but just know that that's what it was. So now we're living in a post-pandemic world, and celebrity culture is what it is. It does thrive off of our attention. And so at this point, post-lockdown, celebrities are going one of 2 ways. They either do a podcast or they do a YouTube channel. Will Smith decides to do a YouTube channel, and Here's a fun fact. I have been following this YouTube channel for maybe the last year and a half now because I'm just really fascinated by it. Now, we can get into a whole thing about digital media studies in another time, but the short of it is that Hollywood has had a really hard time trying to understand how to break into YouTube. And YouTubers, the most successful YouTubers are the ones that don't try to replicate the Hollywood model. A lot of the Hollywood model is based on what you can project to others. I promise this is important thematically to what I'm talking about right now. What you can project to others, and how that projection is perceived. Where YouTube has that level of projection, still has that level of distance, is still edited and polished for your consumption, YouTube also has more authenticity. And it's something that celebrities born of the Hollywood culture really don't know how to handle. So they do their approximation of the same level of authenticity to varying level degrees of success, and thus why I was following Will Smith, who was an actor I'm fine with. But I was curious how he would navigate trying to be authentic on this space. Generally speaking, he's not. He's pretty much like every celebrity. He posts videos that feel authentic. Hey, look at my wild family. Look at me on this crazy trip. Oh my gosh, we gotta go behind stage, and here's us doing the movie and the press tour. But like, what are you really taking away from any of that? It's fine. It is the role Will Smith plays, and he's been playing it for over 30 damn years. So, more power to him. No judgment from me. It was a morbid curiosity of mine, so I'm just watching it. And it went on like that for a while. Until, at the top of the year, not this year, but last year, I think, he had, my timeline's a little weird, because time is a weird illusion. Just know this was last year. He was going to launch a YouTube series about his weight loss journey. And he ends up saying that it becomes more about his mental health journey. And then this all ties into the memoir that he's plugging at this time. So first off, don't feel any pressure to watch this series. I kind of watched it because I was bored. And what I was more interested in is what I took away from it that I know was completely unintentional. There is what, again, is advertised, displayed to a collective audience as authenticity, and then what is true authenticity, right? Things that you can pick up through nonverbal communication, things that you can pick up in the way that they are talking to one another on camera, despite the polish, despite the editing. And because I know the editing and the polish on a technical level, I know what to look for. So I'm watching this because his weight loss journey is maybe 30 pounds. And as you can see, as a fat person, I had to laugh. But he wants to lose the weight. This is very important to him. He has been this figure of fitness his entire life. This is a traumatic thing for him to go through. More power to him. I'm not going to take that away. Only, you found out pretty quick that this really wasn't about the weight loss. And he would do these things. And I've wanted to talk about the show for the longest time. This is just a perfect reason to do so, because it completely ties to what I'm about to say, to last night. Okay. Throughout the series, as he realizes that this isn't just about weight loss, this is about his mental health and the memoir he's writing and the feelings that are being dug up about his past and his father's anger and all this. It's fascinating because he's going through this journey in therapy. And without me intending it, so was I. And so as I'm watching, I'm like, I recognize this from my own therapy. It made me more intrigued to watch the series. What is it like to go through therapy when you've got all the access to resources and people and the time and someone to cook you a meal and help you lose your weight? What must therapy be like when you have it all in front of you, right? Except, as I was watching this, I got really sad for him. Because because he was never allowed to feel what he actually wanted to feel. Every time he would get close to a real feeling, a sadness, an anger, a frustration, a shame, an embarrassment, he would always be around other people whose paychecks were signed by Will Smith. And so what you end up seeing is all these people who want him to still be the jovial Will Smith that they know, so that they can ensure the fact that they're going to get paid. I know that sounds cynical, but you would watch these moments where he would write something about a traumatic experience in his childhood where his father, was angry and abusive, and it made Will feel small and helpless. And you can see Will really crying, right? We all know the joke, Will Smith, like, ooh, the one tear thing. But we also now know what it looks like when Will Smith really cries, right? That's also become a meme. So when you see these moments, and it's fascinating because just as he gets there, one or two things would happen. Either if he was not in a therapeutic setting, if he was working out with his friends, if he was supposed to be doing some sort of promotional thing, he would cut off the emotion quick and make a joke. And if he was in a therapeutic setting, if he was writing the memoir, if he was with his therapist, if he was with his immediate friends, and I'm using that term loosely, and family, unless it was his immediate family, they would turn off the emotion for him. Especially if it was his friends. Oh, but you've worked so hard. You've gotten through that. Look at who you are now. And so he would get up to the point where he's feeling this rage about what he was going through as a child and trying to understand how that has impacted all of the choices he's made as an adult and the image of the man that he wants to be. And right as he would start to feel that feeling, there would be some producer, some trainer, some handler who's like, but you're good now. It's okay. And then Will, who has been conditioned to reply to this thing with a smile, a naturally jovial person, a naturally happy person who wants to make people around him happy, despite and because of his trauma, will smile back and laugh back. Ha ha! The Will Smith smile. And so I'm watching this unfold. Not once, not twice, not in one setting, not in one other setting, but across this series. It's multiple episodes. Across this series, every time he got right on the edge of really talking about a real feeling, you might be able to get a tear, he might get to choke up, but it would always get kind of cut off. And not just in the edit, but in the moment. And I'm sitting here, poor as hell, in Cleveland, having to do video therapy with a therapist in Canada, because that's the only therapist I can fucking find, with no resources. But I'm learning that there's actually something in that old adage that that depression is anger turned inwards. See, I've heard that phrase since I was 14 and never understood what the fuck that meant. I thought that was something other people went through, but I was just sad. I didn't know what the hell y'all meant when you said that. But my therapist, who's only getting paid to do my therapy and not getting paid to be on my web series, not getting paid to promote whatever she's going to work on next. No, my therapist is able to explain to me that anger is a protective emotion. That it helps you like an alarm system. Lets you know, nope. You have crossed the line, good sir. And what I had been doing since I was 14 was skipping the stage where I felt that anger. Because not unlike Will, I like to be a people pleaser. I like to be jovial. I like to laugh. I like to make other people laugh and feel good and feel warm. That is something I naturally do. It is not something I do because I want to code switch or because I want to be seen as respectable in predominantly white spaces. It's not something that I do because I want people inherently to just like me in a superficial way. No, I do it because I want people to feel safe. I want people to feel safe around me. Because I've been in situations where other people's anger doesn't make me feel safe. Where other people's anger made me feel less than. It made me feel like I fucked up. When I fucked up sometimes and when I didn't. And I understood that that's how other people express anger sometimes. But that doesn't have to be me. Because I like to be jovial. I like to be people pleasing. So when I was feeling anger between 14 and about the last year and a half, so 20 years almost, I would clock that I was angry if I was out in public and then file it away in my brain. I will feel this anger later. And then I would go to my room and not come out and be angry. And have anger bounce across the walls back at me. I would let myself be angry on social media, sure, but only in essay form where I could edit and re-edit and tailor the words just right. And then direct my anger to things that everyone either generally is angry about or maybe should be angry about. The government, institutions, big picture shit. In fact, when you've ever seen me angry on video, how many times have I worn that mask? I didn't want to lose control in the anger. I was scared of the fact that anger made me feel powerful when I touched it for too long. And because I understood that for some people, they really needed to manage their anger, I assumed that everyone needed to manage their anger. And that everyone starts with me. So I'm going to manage this anger. And I will assess why I am angry. And I will do something about it. And it will be handled. And we can have fun. We can have a great time. And everything's okay. Except I skipped the stage where I felt the anger. And therefore, I never quite knew what the anger was trying to tell me. And that's what therapy taught me, is that sometimes you just gotta let the anger do what it does. It's true of any emotion. Is what I'm really learning, is that, culturally, we are so wrapped up. And this is actually something I want to do my documentary about with Sum Total about. I've been having a really hard time trying to articulate this, and maybe I can do it here on camera. And if you feel me, I need you to holler. All right. We are so conditioned to be focused on the logic of a situation, because logic has been the one thing we think is the highest form of human existence. That if it is perfectly logical, then it is okay. Except we know that logical fallacies are very easy to get into, right? And that they can control the way we view each other just as inaccurately as any other emotion, any other process in our brain. We culturally allow men to get angry before we let women get angry. We culturally allow white people to get angry before we let black people get angry. I'm not talking about the other races right now, but y'all got this. Shuffle the hierarchy as needed. And sorry, that was really funny. I cracked me up with that one. I'm gonna have to remember that. Shuffle the hierarchy as needed. Anywho, okay. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say here that, yeah, there's ways that we allow anger to exist in our culture. But even those ways are very limited. And if you're not a person who wants to express anger in those very limited ways, you're not a person that likes to punch your pillow. You're not a person who likes to scream. If you're a naturally jovial person, you might be afraid of what that feeling is bringing out in you. And so you shut the door, because logically, I know why I'm angry. I know why that person did that thing to me. And I understand the system. What I've learned in the last year and a half, my post therapy world, is how to feel those feelings. And it is still a work in motherfucking process. I couldn't even say that right. Work in motherfucking process. It is a non-linear activity, amen. Um, because the power is enticing and it's frightening. And you don't want to give into it because you're scared, because you've seen examples of other people in your life give into it, and you don't want to repeat that because you want people to feel safe around you. But realizing that because I wasn't putting the anger out, venting it out, doing that exorcising of a demon, it just was bouncing around inside of me. Depression is anger turned inwards. And when you're jovial and depressed, you tend to laugh a lot. And because laughter is comforting to other people around you, it signals that things are okay, genuinely speaking. Typically, laughter comes from mirth and enjoyment of life. So even when you're upset, you may laugh because you don't want people to feel like they're not in safety around you. Which is interesting because when you watch the full clip of Will Smith that night, he laughs at Chris Rock's joke. And then he looks at his wife. Now, see, we could go into a whole nother thing about how, like, this week we've watched black women have to, like, you know, suck it up and take it on the chin, even though they may be the most qualified fucking person in the room. That's not for this conversation. I'm sure that's already happening in the discourse. What I want to get at is Will Smith laughing. He laughed throughout that series anytime he tried to have a real emotion. He laughed whenever one of his handlers would sort of give that sort of white Hollywood civility thing, that toxic positivity. Oh yeah, everything's great, Will. Yeah, no, you did. It's so inspirational. Those things you went through. And he never felt the feeling. So with all the people around him, all that access to money and resources, he still has to perform. And he's so caught up in the performance because he's performing since he's 16, and the people he's closest to, or he's performing for and paying their bills, that he never actually gets the chance to feel the full breadth of anger, to know that you may not ever respond out of violence, or you may not do the things you fear about yourself in your anger, if you just give yourself a chance to truly feel all the anger. And that maybe it'll tell you what it is you're actually upset about, what boundary was crossed, how danger and harm was brought onto you, and what you need to do about it next. Without rationalizing it, without suppressing it, it just does this. And I don't think Will had an opportunity to test that theory. And I find that interesting. So I wanted to talk to you about it. I think that's it. That's all. Have a good day.